The morning sun had just begun to climb over the horizon, spilling soft rays of gold across a sleepy roadside diner. The hiss of brewing coffee mingled with the scent of bacon and the faint tang of gasoline. Outside, the low growl of motorcycle engines rolled through the crisp air as a group of Hell's Angels bikers pulled in for breakfast. They were the kind of men people often avoided. Rough leather, tattooed arms, faces weathered by life's storms. Yet, behind those dark shades and iron exteriors lived stories no one ever stopped to hear. Their laughter echoed against the chrome of their bikes until a sudden, heart-piercing cry ripped through the calm morning. Heads turned instantly. Across the parking lot, a small figure in a red dress stumbled toward them, her boots skidding on the cold pavement. Her hair, light brown and tangled, streamed behind her. Tears had cut dusty trails down her cheeks, and her trembling voice cracked with fear. "Please," she screamed, pointing back toward the open road. "They're hurting my mama, please, somebody help her." The laughter died. Even the engines seemed to fall quiet. The air grew still. A few truckers at the gas pumps looked on uncertainly. But only one man moved. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the power of good people stepping forward when the world looks away, then stay with us, because what happened next will restore your faith in humanity. The man who stepped up was Mason Cole, a broad-shouldered biker in his late 30s. His jacket bore the bold red and white insignia of the Hell's Angels. Mason had seen plenty. Fights, betrayal, and blood. But never the kind of raw fear that shone in that little girl's eyes. He crouched down, steadying her shaking hands. "Where's your mama?" he asked, his gravelly voice unexpectedly gentle. The girl tried to speak, but sobs overtook her. She managed to point again. Down a cracked two-lane road that vanished into the trees. "They're beating her," she whimpered. "Please hurry." Mason's jaw tightened. Without hesitation, he stood tall. "Tank rider, on me," he barked. In seconds, 3 engines roared to life. Tires screeched. The trio of Harleys tore down the road, dust swirling in their wake. The other bikers stayed behind, one of them guiding the trembling girl inside and wrapping her in a leather jacket far too big for her small frame. She sat by the window, clutching the sleeves close, eyes locked on the disappearing red taillights. 5 long minutes passed. The diner stayed silent, tension thick in the air. Then faintly, yelling, a woman's scream, and the thunder of motorcycles cutting through chaos. Mason and his brothers had found the trailer. Inside, what they saw would haunt them forever. A drunken man had cornered a woman, fists bloodied, rage pouring out of him. The cracked window let a thin ray of sunlight fall across her bruised face. She cowered, terrified, as he raised his arm again. But before the blow landed, the door burst open. Mason's heavy boots pounded against the floorboards. He caught the man's wrist mid-swing and twisted hard until the bottle he held shattered to the ground. The other bikers moved fast, no hesitation, no words. Just quiet, efficient strength. Within seconds, the man was pinned to the floor. Mason turned to the trembling woman. "You all right, ma'am?" he asked, his voice still rough but laced with concern. She nodded weakly, tears streaming freely now. Outside, the distant wail of police sirens began to echo through the trees. Someone must have called it in. When the cops arrived, the bikers didn't flee. They stood calmly in the yard, hands raised. The little girl, Hannah, as they soon learned, ran straight to Mason, clutching his leg. The woman, Carla, explained everything. The man was her ex-boyfriend, recently out of prison, who had tracked her down that morning. The officers led him away in cuffs, muttering curses under his breath. Mason simply knelt beside Hannah and placed a heavy hand on her shoulder. "You did good, kid," he said softly. "You were brave today." Together, they rode back to the diner. Hannah sat on Mason's lap, gripping a helmet far too large for her tiny head, as the sunlight poured across the open road. When they returned, the once quiet diner had drawn a small crowd. Locals, travelers, truckers, all waited anxiously. When they saw Mason carrying the little girl, her mother following close behind, alive but bruised, every whisper stopped. Carla's voice broke as she thanked them over and over. "I didn't think anyone would come," she murmured. Mason looked down at Hannah. then back at her mother. "She made sure we did," he said. The diner owner stepped forward with blankets and coffee. One by one, the Hells Angels removed their jackets, draping them around the two. Even the police officers, still lingering nearby, looked away out of quiet respect. Mason knelt again, meeting Hannah's eyes. "Take care of your mama. All right. You're her little guardian angel now." The girl nodded, gripping the edge of his sleeve with her small hand. By noon, the story had spread through town like wildfire. People stopped by the diner just to shake the bikers' hands, to thank the men's society often misjudged for doing what others didn't. When asked why, Mason simply said, "You don't ignore a cry like that. Doesn't matter what patch you wear. Some things are just human." In the weeks that followed, Carla and Hannah began rebuilding their lives. The community rallied. Neighbors brought food, clothes, even helped them find a new place to live. And every Sunday morning, a few motorcycles could be seen parked outside the diner. Mason and his brothers would sit quietly inside, coffee cups steaming, laughter of a little girl echoing between them. Months later, when the chill of winter had faded, Hannah came running up to Mason one morning, clutching a crayon drawing. It showed a row of motorcycles, a tiny girl in red, and a big man kneeling to help her. "This is us," she said proudly. Mason looked at the picture for a long time before folding it neatly and sliding it into the inside pocket of his vest. "That's coming with me wherever I ride," he said quietly. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Limitless Truth. Because sometimes, the hardest exteriors hide the most compassionate souls. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were one of those bikers?